October 13th at 5 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order at this time. Let the record reflect we have a quorum to do business for the city. First item before the board today would be the minutes of regular meeting on August 25th, 2022. Are there any corrections or omissions or deletions to those minutes?
No.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Clark, I would second your motion. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the motion carries 2-0. Second item would be the October 3rd, 2022 minutes of an executive session. Are there any questions on those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark, I would second. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 2-0. Let the record reflect there is no unfinished business before the board today. We go directly into new business. And first item is A, approval of the Police Aptitude and Charter Test PACT lease agreement with FPSI. And we have Chief Woodruff here to chat a little bit about that for us.
Good afternoon, everyone. These are, we're getting ready to start a new hiring process next week. After the Merit Commission meeting on Monday, we'll be hopefully starting that process. We're gearing up to do so. And these two items before you, both A and B, if I may speak to both of those at this point, are agreements that we enter into for outsourcing of a couple of the sections of our testing. One is written test, and the other is the oral interview questions that we outsource those to outside vendors per our Merit Commission rules. So we're asking the board here to enter into those agreements so we can get that process started in a timely manner next week.
Caitlin, you have any comments on those? Or
I reviewed everything, and I think I may have had like one thing I wanted them to add, just a statutory provision, and FPSI did add that, and so legally everything checked out on my end.
questions, Mr. Clark?
I do. Do the fire, you may not know this, does the fire department use the same?
I do not know the answer to that, but I know there are other Central Indiana law enforcement agencies that have been using this company for a year or two now. We have connected with them, with those agencies. I know Carmel PD, Fishers PD, and a few others are using this particular company, and they're very happy with the results they're getting. They seem to indicate that they're getting a better quality applicant when it comes to those who are passing or not passing the materials that they are providing, especially the oral interview questions and the written testing. So these other agencies that are using them are quite indeed happy with the results that they are getting. It's important to note also this started as a collaborative effort between the Professional Standards Division, Captain Schneider, who has operated our hiring process for years now, and we formed a committee with the FOP to get their recommendations about what we can do to improve our process. We look to do that every time we have a process, but in this day and age, if you're not staying nimble and staying competitive, you're falling behind with these other agencies. So part of going to this vendor is to do exactly that, to stay competitive with these other agencies that we are literally competing for talent against.
And is there training that the folks administering the interviews? Because I said you got the booklets,
Right.
but I'm sure you need to understand what is in the booklets. Or
Right. Yeah, there's a training piece that goes along with that, to my knowledge, to my understanding anyway. And again, this was a collaborative recommendation from our hiring process committee with both the FOP and our Professional Standards Division having strong input. And the FOP actually brought this vendor to us, wanting to go to them. So anytime the membership and leadership are speaking with one voice, that's always a positive.
Well, and I went on their website, and I noticed that there's a piece where the new recruits, let's say, can purchase documents, training documents. Is that something they would pay for themselves, or is that provided?
Yes. It's my understanding again that if a candidate wants to do that, they can go on there and do that. Yes.
Okay. I was just curious, so I wanted to look it up and see, because wasn't there someone locally that was doing some of that previously off of college?
Absolutely, and a little bit of competition never hurt anybody. So again, had we not gotten the recommendations from the membership through the FOP and from the other neighboring agencies who are using this same company, we may not be appearing before you today to make this request. And this is also something that I think we're entering into this agreement for 1 year from today, if approved. And if we don't like the results, then we can always make another adjustment.
Okay. Yeah, it seemed intriguing, and there's a HR component. Is that being utilized, or is this straight the hiring stuff?
Not on this round, no. No, we're starting off with the hiring process here to see how that goes, and then we'll see if we want to expand from there. But certainly, when it comes to the questions for the oral interview and the benchmarks and then the written testing, those are two key components of our hiring process. And it seems as if there have been some very positive results with other agencies with this specific vendor.
And I'll just ask one more question. I'm curious, did you look at the difference between what you are using now and what is going to be provided for you with this process, the types of questions? And because I know it's aptitude, and then there's following rules, there's different.
Right. Yeah, yes, I did, and the committee certainly took a very, very deep dive into this. I think council can probably back me up on this, but I shared an email of a rather in-depth analysis that the committee conducted when it came to comparing our previous vendor with the services provided by this new vendor. And we're very excited about the potential of this new vendor. And again, the agencies that have used, the area agencies here in central Indiana that have used this vendor are very happy with the results thus far.
Yeah, and it sounded like it weeded out people that didn't pass the psychological piece of it better
Right.
than some of their competitors.
There have been times where we have conducted all of our testing phases and we have sent candidates who have been extended conditional offers to medical and psychological testing and have returned with a failure on both of those. So the sooner we can identify those candidates, the better in that process. In the long run, it'll save us some money, but we're not necessarily doing this as a cost-saving measure. It's more of a effectiveness and completeness of the process solution.
Yeah, I mean, it's for the safety of the community and so
Absolutely.
on.
It winds up producing more qualified candidates, earlier in the process. That's a win for everyone.
Yep, and I think it's a great idea, and I don't have any other questions. I appreciate your answers.
Thank you for making sure.
Thanks, Chief. So I'll entertain approval of the police aptitude and chapter test lease agreement.
Motion to approve, can I approve A and B?
We ought to take those separately.
I would go one by one, just for the record.
We'll take them separately. So item A then, is there a motion to approve?
A motion to approve item A, approval of the police aptitude and chapter test.
By Mr. Clark. I would second. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That carries 2-0. Item B then, tying right in with item A, approval of the structure interview license agreement with FPSI. So I don't know if you have any other comments. The floor is open.
No, I do not. I pretty much made it all the comments I needed.
All tied
to right
together.
away.
So at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the structure interview license agreement with FPSI.
Motion to approve the structure interview license agreement with FPSI.
By Mr. Clark. I will second that motion. Are there questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 2-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item C, and I think Renee's going to speak to some of the rest of the agenda, release of improvement bonds and acceptance of maintenance bonds for street signs and monuments in the Eagles at Winding Ridge Section 1 and 2.
So they've completed the construction on the street signs and the monuments, and those sections of the Eagles, have provided the maintenance bond for the next 3 years, and we'll inspect it 6 months before that bond expires to make sure everything's still good condition before it becomes part of the city's inventory.
Questions?
None by me.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the release of the improvement bond and acceptance maintenance bond for those street signs and monuments and Eagles at Winding Ridge, Section 1 and 2?
Motion to approve.
I would second. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that carries 2-0. Right on to item D, release of improvement bond, acceptance of maintenance bond for asphalt surface in the Eagles at Winding Ridge, Section 1 and 2.
Same deal. They've completed the improvement, provided the maintenance bond, which is valid for 3 years. We'll inspect in 2.5, make sure it's all good to go before that bond expires.
Questions?
I have none.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the release of improvement bond, acceptance maintenance bond for asphalt surface Eagles at Winding Ridge, Section 1 and 2?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark, and I will second it. Are there questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries 2-0. Final item on the agenda, release of improvement bond, acceptance of maintenance bond for erosion control in the Eagles at Winding Ridge, Section 1 and 2.
Again, same deal. Erosion control's been installed and completed. They provided the 3-year bond. We've inspected. We'll inspect again in 2.5 years.
Thanks, Renee. Questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve then the release of the improvement bond, acceptance of maintenance bond for erosion control at the Eagles at Winding Ridge, Section 1 and 2?
Motion to approve. Item.
Aye, Mr. Clark. I would second. Are there questions on the motion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Comments of administration? We've heard some today.
Hi, board members, this is Shri. I have one comment.
Thank you, Shri.
So I just want to let the board of works know that we received a $75,000 grant, planning grant from Indianapolis MPO to do a capital improvement plan, which is basically a master plan for the transportation, identifying what the transportation needs are for the city itself. Most of the cities of our size have one such plan, which is used for planning purposes, for project funding and grant applications, and we never had one. So when the MPO came out with a call for projects for planning grants, we submitted one and got this $75,000 grant to do a capital improvement plan for the whole city. This is going to be a very helpful document to plan out for the next 20, 30 years what we want to do.
So Shri, is that when you say
Yes, and stuff.
transportation,
So just wanted to pass.
when you say a transportation plan, is that walkability, buses, all of the above?
No. This is called a capital improvement plan, which is basically an overall long-range planning, transportation planning, which would include looking at the roadways, sidewalks, and see what the capacity we are right now, what would we need, intersection improvements that are needed for various intersections, safety issues, congestion issues. It will also look at, we already have a bike plan. We will incorporate that and see what there are connection issues, if there need to be, connectivity, but it does not include any transit or anything like that. But it will look at the purple line stops and see if there are any connectivity, if we needed to be added, if there are any streets that intersection improvements that need to be done. Again, this is a master planning document that we can use it for next several years when grants come out. We can look at what is our project that can be funded under this grant or that grant. So this is more like a guide that a growing city like us should have already had one, but we didn't. So now we are going to get one by next year. This will come in front of the board of works for approval. MPO just issued the grant. They will collect. We will took them. MPO will work with me to select a consultant to do this master plan, and this will come to the board of works sometime next year for approval.
Okay, will this be separate from what is already being planned with the Pendleton Pike in the Trades District?
Yeah. This has nothing to do. This is not a project-specific plan. This is more like an overall planning document for the whole city, looking at each and every roads, each and every safety issues on every street. Looking at gathering the safety data, identifying intersections that are high crash, and identify intersections that are congested. Any streets that would need to be widened in the next 15, 20 years, stuff like that. So this, we will not be looking at Pendleton Pike, which is an estate road, but we will also look at what Trades District is going to do on Franklin Street, whether that would change any of those for Franklin Street, stuff like that, any future improvements, how they would impact the neighboring streets and stuff. So yeah, Trade Districts will be part of the study, but it will whatever that is going to happen there, how much traffic is generated, it's going to dictate what Franklin Street is going to look in the next 20 years. So all of that will be included in this study.
Okay, well, thank you, and I appreciate whoever put the blinking stop signs on the road, because those they get missed a lot for drivers. And
Yeah, and if you haven't noticed, we also put some flashes, one along the Lee Road trail crossing right at the north of 59th Street on Lee, where that natural trail is. We put a blinking stop sign, blinking pedestrian flasher there with a crosswalk there, and we also put one right next to the Ivy Tech. So we are trying to improve the pedestrian safety in general.
yeah, that helps a lot, because people don't realize there's stop signs there.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sri, I had one other question, just talking about safety, and I've noticed that Oaklandon Road, which is pretty heavily traveled, in front of Oaklandon Elementary School, many of the other schools have the flashers that slow people down, not only going into Oaklandon, but right in front of the school itself. And all we have are a couple of signs, and I don't know if we're responsible as a city for that, or Indianapolis, or
Doug, I think you brought it up earlier too, and I've reached out to Indianapolis at that time, because they put Oakland and Indianapolis has been installing those street signs, those flashes all along all the schools on thoroughfares, and Oaklandon is their thoroughfare. So let me reach out to Indianapolis again. I did reach out, but never heard back months ago. So I'm going to just remind them, if they don't do it, maybe I can look into it next year to put something there. Maybe see if we can, it shouldn't cost us that much. If Indianapolis is dragging their feet on it or elected to do that, I'll see what we can do, maybe add 2 flashers there, just like we have on other schools. But let me get back to that. Let me talk to them, and let me see what I can do on that.
I appreciate it. It's a heavily traveled thoroughfare, especially in the morning when we're getting kids in there, and in the evening getting kids out of there. So I think it's one.
Yeah, I remember
kind of
back when I was with Indianapolis, they got a large grant through MPO to install those flashers. That's why you see all those flashes. Maybe Oakland and this school was missed at that time. They did. One of the, you always miss things. So that's probably why you don't see it. So let me get back to them and see if they can do it. If not, we'll figure something out that we'll do it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Chief?
Just had a final thought to not miss the opportunity to promote our hiring process coming up. JoinLawrencePD.com is the internet site to take a look at, and we should be ready to go with that again Monday or Tuesday of next week. And again, JoinLawrencePD.com. That's where people can check out everything about our hiring process underway and apply to the Lawrence Police Department. They know they'll be joining a fantastic and amazing police department. I know everybody in the room knows that.
How many new candidates are we looking for?
Yeah, right now, as we all know, historically, we've gotten more done with less than any other agency that I'm aware of, but we're allocated for 65 full-time sworn members of the department. Currently, we have 57. By the time this process concludes, we'll have 56. We'll have another retirement towards the end of the year. So, yeah, there'll be 8 or 9 openings. So this will be a great time for somebody to apply or a Tier 1 certified officer to transfer over to the Lawrence Police Department. Again, join lawrencepd.com. We have the best equipment, best police station, best support of the community of any agency in central Indiana, certainly if not the entire state.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Other comments from, we're still on administration at this point. Citizens' comments? Have any citizens' comments? Adjournment is on before us. There a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Clark, I second your motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.